Evet, uzun bir aradan sonra yeniden yeni bir programla daha karşınızdayız. Bugün yanımda çok önemli bir siyasetçi var. Alman Yeşiller Partisi'nin kurucularından biri olan sevgili Frank Schwalba-Hoth bizimle. Frank merhaba, hoş geldin. Evet, Covid sebebiyle uzun zamandır parlamentoda değildik. Bugün aslında Frank'la tanışma hikayemizle başlamak istiyorum. Tam parlamentonun önündeki Lüksemburg Meydanı'nda birisiyle konuşuyordum ve Frank birden geldi ve önümdeki kişiyi çekti, onunla bir şeyler konuştu. Sonra bana geldi, kusura bakma dedi. Senle şimdi tanışalım, ne iş yapıyorsun? Ben yaptığım işi söyledim. Sonra da kendisine sordum, sen ne iş yapıyorsun dedim. O da dedi çok önemli kişilerle görüşmeler yapıyorum. Dedim umarım o önemli bulduğun kişiler politikacı falan değildir. Bana güldü ve Wikipedia'dan kim olduğuma bak dedi. Sonra ben baktım kendisinin bir Yeşiller Partisi kurucusu olduğunu öğrendim. Bunları tabii Türkiye'de bir siyasetçiye söylesem başıma neler gelir bilemiyorum da Frank'la bir arkadaşlığa dönüştü aslında. Teşekkürler bugün burada olduğun için. Ben şeyle başlamak istiyorum, iklim zirvesiyle başlamak istiyorum. Jetleriyle biliyorsunuz politikacılar Glasgow'a gittiler iklim konuşmak için. Yani politikacıların hakikaten önemli insanlar olduğu konusunda hala şüphelerim var ama sen ne düşünüyorsun iklim zirvesindeki bu skandalla ilgili? Oradan başlayalım. Evlerinde otursalar da daha yararlı olmaz mıydı yani iklim için?
No, I think it would have been smarter to swim through the channel and then go on foot or on bicycle to Glasgow. But no one of those participated possibly had time for this. I think it's understandable if you have such an important key meeting once a year for the climate that those who participate look for a way of transport. And if you're coming from far away, it is the aeroplane.
Tabii Yeşiller Partisi'nin Almanya...
Stop. But there was something wonderful. There was a train from Belgium with hundreds of people, of participants, who went to the channel, then on a boat, and then by train in the United Kingdom. Things like this now, for the first time, existed like this. But I remember an NGO leader from Germany, when it was Kyoto in Japan, he came by Trans-Siberian highway to Vladivostok and then via ship to Japan.
Ama artık teknoloji çok değişti. Yani evden Zoom toplantısıyla da buluşabilirler aslında. Daha mantıklı olmaz mı?
No. Politics, and I've learned it personally here in Brussels, is very, very much to meet person in person. We could have done this interview on Zoom, but the atmosphere would have been totally different. I think you have to accept that in certain situations you need to look in the eyes of the other person. You need to smell who is the other person. Possibly you have even touch now. In COVID, you touch the shoulders or the arms. But a personal contact is important to find a compromise. Because this, I'm in love with Brussels. Why? One of the reasons, because this is one of the few places in the world, if you say to someone, oh, you're making compromise, that is the biggest form of compliment here. In Turkey and Germany, you are down when you say you are making always compromise. But to make a compromise, it is much easier if you see face to face.
Şeyi sormak istiyorum tabii bu iklim kriziyle ilgili Greta aktivizmi diye bir şey başladı dünyanın her tarafında. Gerçekçi buluyor musunuz? Gerçekten bu çocuklar değiştirebilirler mi dünyayı?
I don't know. I only know that we are endangered, that our period where we are living and where we are discussing now, in 100 years will be called not the period of communication, but it will be called the period of irresponsibility. We are candidates to be called those two who sat here TV interview during the period of irresponsibility, because we have all these data, we have all this information, what we are doing to the climate, and nevertheless we are not doing enough. But I think there is a learning process, and there the youngsters, the Greta movement, Fridays for Future, played a key role. Think back 20 years ago, if youngsters would have said, you parents' generation, grandparents' generation, you have messed up the whole globe, most people would have said, calm down. But now we even listen to them. We even invite them to key meetings and applaud. I think that is a positive sign that we are more and more aware that we have messed up so many things, and I hope that the young generation will continue with this pressure.
Almanya'ya dönelim o zaman. Almanya biraz konuşalım. Şimdi 16 yıllık iktidar süresi bitti Merkel'in ve yeni bir hükümet kuruldu. Yeşiller de var bu hükümetin içinde. En çok merak ettiğim Yeşiller ve liberaller nasıl bir araya geldi? Özellikle Yeşillerin, yani eski Yeşillerin bu konudan çok rahatsız olduklarını duyuyoruz. Bu doğru mu? Hatta daha sola doğru kaydıklarını, daha sol bir partiye oy vermek istediklerini bundan sonra duyuyoruz. Ne düşünüyorsun bununla ilgili?
It's now for the second time that the German Greens are on the national level, the federal level, in government. But Germany is composed of different Länder, different states, different regions, and there in more than half the Greens are already governing. And Germany is a federal structure, not like Turkey, where most things are discussed and decided in the capital. And therefore, we have governing experience, and we are aware of the challenge ahead. COVID, one, second, climate, and third, international relations. And therefore, the Greens have been very tolerant, very consensus-oriented, very compromise-oriented during the negotiations to make it possible that this majority can come together. And therefore the Liberals got a lot of concessions because they are the most right-wing part of this coalition. But I think that afterwards, when this government will finish after 4 years and possibly re-elected, people will say, wow, this was a wonderful and productive government, not only for Germany, not only for the European Union, but for the whole of the globe, in putting forward more responsibility and respect for other countries, for the climate, and for the needs of other people on this globe, and for human rights.
Şimdi Türkiye'den Almanya'ya bakılınca şöyle bir tartışma var. Mesela Türkiye'de hep denilir ki koalisyonlarla yönetmek çok zordur. O yüzden hani tek bir parti olsun, tek adam olsun diye bir tartışma vardır. Türkiye'deki muhalifler de hep derler ki bakın Almanya örneği var. Almanya yıllardır koalisyonla yönetiliyor ve bal gibi de yönetiyorlar, güzel de yönetiyorlar. Koalisyonla yönetmeyi, bir arada birbirinden bu kadar farklı düşünen partileri bir arada ülkeyi yönetmeyi nasıl başardınız? Yani bu evreye nasıl geldiniz aslında?
That's very, very easy, because as a party, especially in the election campaign, you fight for the profile of your party. But after the election, you have still the party in your heart and in your brain, but you think of the country. Mm-hmm. You think of the responsibility which you have for the country and for the countries around and for the whole of the globe. And therefore it is necessary, like in a family where you have to find a compromise and not give the whole responsibility to the father in traditional structures. And therefore Germany is used to this. And it prevents that you have one charismatic, powerful person who's imposing his or her will on the others. Merkel, she was not imposing her will. She was always listening to the others and then coming forward with a position. And I think it will be the same, a continuity in this time, that it will be a coalition. And I'm even sure that this coalition will be more coherent than the coalition before, Christian Democrats and Social Democrats.
Peki dijitalleşme konusunu biraz konuşalım. Dijitalleşme Yeşiller açısından nasıl görünüyor? Bir, neden bu kadar geç kalındı Almanya'da? Çünkü Avrupa'daki diğer ülkeler bunu daha önce yaptılar. Siz neden geç kaldınız? İkincisi, Yeşiller nasıl bakıyor bu konuya? Çünkü dijitalleşmeden sonra birçok insanın belki işsiz kalacağı falan konuşuluyor. Siz neresinde duruyorsunuz bu işin Yeşiller olarak?
There's a very human behavior when you have achieved something and the others say, wow, wonderful, you are happy. And you're not aware that you have to continue to develop. It was much easier in Estonia when they became independent immediately look at more digital structures than in the self-confident German technology, cars and all of this. Certainly there's a danger for the protection of your personal data, but I think the wonderful thing, if in Germany something is decided, then it is a wish and the capacity to come to make it true. And therefore Germany will now be confronted with a huge lap of more digitalization and not be one of the last in the class, but will go up compared to other countries.
Peki Merkel döneminde özellikle Almanya Avrupa Birliği konusunda çok önemli rol oynadı. Şimdi yeni dönemde Avrupa Birliği'ne bakış nasıl Almanya'da? Ve buradan da tabii Türkiye'yi de sormak istiyorum. Yeşillerin ve Almanya'daki birçok muhalifin Türkiye'deki mevcut iktidarı çok eleştirdiğini biliyoruz. Yeni dönemde Türkiye'nin AB üyeliğiyle ilgili bakış nasıl olur?
Yes, European Union will certainly see more involvement of Germany, because it is now a common understanding in Germany that we are, from a local origin, German origin, European origin, and in this coalition even a global commitment. That means European Union, we will continue with our, I think, positive role. And if you look on the persons who are now the key persons of the new coalition, they all have an in-depth EU experience. Therefore, EU will see a much more determined Germany than before. Turkey, it will continue to see Turkey as an important partner. Now we have, for the very first time, via the parents' Turkish origin minister, Cem Özdemir in Germany, for agriculture and food. And therefore, a lot will depend on the one hand on him, his performance, but it is a sign that those Turkish origin people who came to, or Turkish people who came to Germany are now Germans of Turkish origin, that they are a part of German structure, German society, and therefore I think it will be easier for for Turkish origin Germans now. Turkey, most people in Germany have a positive attitude to Turkey, to the country Turkey, to what is happening in Turkey, but most people are less convinced by the performance of the president. And therefore, I think there will be a very polite but sharp attitude on human rights, rule of law, and aspects linked to this.
Tabii mesela Türkiye'de özellikle şimdi beni takip eden takipçilerim bu soruyu mutlaka sormamı isteyeceklerdir. Almanya'nın her ne kadar Türkiye'nin AB üyeliğini destekler gibi görünse de kendi içinde aslında Türkiye'yi Avrupa Birliği'nin içinde görmek istemediğiyle ilgili bir söylenti var, bir dedikodu var. Hatta deniliyor ki Almanya Türkiye'yi kıskanıyor, bir rakip olarak görüyor. Gerçekten Türkiye'yi kıskanıyor musunuz?
Apologies, this I hear for the first time, jealous, because I myself, I'm not jealous, and I don't see jealousy in the European Union, but I tell you a secret. The European Union in 20 years will not be the European Union of today. We will have an inner circle of countries who are going forward, a coalition of the willing, for more integration. And we will have other countries who will be not as integrated as the other countries. Look on the US. Guam, Puerto Rico are part of the US, but not really. That means in the European Union, we will have integrated in 20 years Turkey, not as a 100% full member, And not a second-class member, no, but not integrated in all the policies like social policy, like tax policy or others, but it will be a part of the European Union. There, I'm sure, this is the way as well for the countries of the Western Balkans and possibly even of the countries of Caucasia, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, that they are a part of the EU family, but not integrated into all policies of the European Union.
O ülkelerin gerçekten Avrupa'nın parçası olduğuna inandığın için mi böyle düşünüyorsun, yoksa şu anda mesela göçmen politikalarıyla ilgili Türkiye'ye böyle bir ihtiyaç var ve Türkiye de bunu zaman zaman kullanıyor, bu kartı. Yani Türkiye bize hani oradan gelecek olan göçmenleri engellemek için önemli bir nokta. O yüzden Türkiye ile partnerliğimiz devam etsin mi, yoksa hakikaten Türkiye bir parçası mı?
No. You mix up two things. First, actual politics, like migrants, and a long-term strategic policy. And Turkey is a part of Europe, on the border of Europe, like Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan are a part of Europe, as the Western Balkan is a part of Europe. But we had different, as Russia, especially the western part is a part of Russia, but we had different history, therefore had developed different cultures. And we have to find a way to look for a structure where all European countries can work together. Not necessarily in all sectors. And if you look even in the EU, we are able to do it. The euro. Not all countries are member of the Eurozone. Look on Schengen. Not all countries, especially since the beginning, are part of the same structure. And therefore, we will have, possibly, it is possible to call it concentric circles, where you have an inner circle, near to inner circle, an outer circle, a very outer circle, but all of this will be European Union and involved in EU common decision-making and EU solidarity. And showing to the outside world, we Europeans have come together, put our act together. We act in one way. Think if you would act together with us, for example, or especially in climate and in COVID questions.
Bir de Rusya sorusu sormak isterim o zaman. Rusya şu anda bir enerji krizi yaşanıyor ve Rusya'da bu krizde önemli bir rol oynuyor. Avrupa'nın da Rusya'ya enerji konusunda bir bağımlılığı var. Şimdi Avrupa'daki mesela nükleer santralleri azaltalım, yenilenebilir enerjiye dönelim vesaire, bunlar konuşuluyor. Fakat bir taraftan da tırnak içinde rakip olarak görülen Rusya'da hem nükleer silahlar mevcut hem de enerji konusunda da eli oldukça güçlü. O yüzden hani bu nükleerden vazgeçelim, yenilenebilir enerjilere yüklenelim meselesi biraz fazla romantik değil mi? Gerçekçi mi?
There's no energy crisis. There's an understanding that we have to shift away from traditional energy, hydrocarbons, to the even more traditional energy, which is coming from the sun and the wind. There have been days in Germany, there have been days in Spain, where all energy used was from renewables. And therefore we are on the way to more renewables. Your great-grandson will laugh at you when you will tell him in 50 years that you used petrol for your car. How is it possible? Because we will have in 30, but certainly in 50 years, everything from renewables. And therefore it is totally understandable that now Russia uses this transition, and especially the question of the pipeline from Russia through the Baltic Sea to Germany, to raise a little bit the price, or quite considerable, even in some cases now, the price for gas, and therefore the whole energy price, to get something out of this cake, which is becoming smaller and smaller. And if you look, the new coalition now in Germany has decided in 2040 no more gas in Germany. And in the 30s, no gas boilers will be allowed to be built newly in houses.
Frank, çok teşekkürler. Bütün sorularıma içtenlikle cevap verdin. Bana sormak istediğin bir şey varsa sorabilirsin. Programımızı kapatacağız çünkü.
Yes. If I would be cultural minister in Germany or in Turkey, no one would get the baccalaureate, the Abitur, or the university examen if he or she has not stayed for half a year in another country, without parents, alone. Because when you're staying in another country, even for 1 month, 2 months, the best 6 months, you understand that your country is wonderful, but that other countries are as well wonderful, and you question very much your convictions, which sometimes are only prejudices. I say this as well as German, and I think it's valid for every country. The horizon of the new generation has to be larger than only on one specific country. And, oh yes, and everyone would be obliged to learn another language. Not obliged, as a gift. It is a gift to learn another language, to think in another way. And therefore I hope that this will be more and more reality in my country, in other countries, and in your country, in Turkey. Greetings to Turkey, and thank you very much for this interview here with you.
Ben de çok teşekkür ediyorum sana katıldığın için yayınımıza. Evet, bugünlük bizden bu kadar. Bir sonraki programımızda tekrar görüşmek dileğiyle. Hoşça kalın.
Thank you.